All right, UFC 317. Ilia Topuria moves up in weight and starches Charles Oliveira. Alexandre Pantoja strangles Kai Kara-France in his fourth title defense. Joshua Van brawls it out with Brandon Royval in a fight of the night where both land 200-plus significant strikes. Dariush is a bit too crafty and makes MOICANO look like an unk. Our boy Peyton Talbot bounces back, basically shuts down a fellow prospect in Felipe Lima. Gregory Rodriguez sends Jack Hermansson to the dark place. Jose Delgado flying knees Hyder AMIL out cold. Tracy Cortez beats up Old Lady Araujo. Terrence McKinney taps out Vyacheslav Borschev. Jacoby Smith has a way too competitive fight with the geriatric Nico Price. And Janata DINIZ has a great volume performance and bounces back big after getting fraud checked by Tybura. Performance bonuses are headed to Ilia Topuria, the multimillionaire, and Gregory Rodriguez as well for his efforts. Fight of the night is obvious. Joshua Van, Brandon Royval both put up over 200 significant strikes each. Both stocks raise massively in my opinion. They deserve this fight of the night bonus, no doubt. So, Topuria starches Oliveira. Yeah, these two had a little ground exchange, but Ilia Topuria just too powerful, too skilled at boxing. Oliveira's sort of longer shoot-to-box work just coming up short. I wanted to see more front kicks. I wanted to see more knees. Just wasn't happening. He wanted to really dial in his striking with Topuria and absolutely paid for it. What it's going to take to beat Ilia Topuria, his hardest fight was surprisingly against Josh Emmett, who's crazy one-dimensional. But I think we need to look at the build. We need someone Ilia Topuria's height and just bulked out. We need a short, stocky roid head. That's what it's going to take. And I'm afraid featherweight doesn't really have that right now for Ilia. And he's not even really fighting contenders anymore. He's sort of, coming after these champions, these veterans that are up in age. But now what's next seems to be Pimblett, which is actually pretty interesting because Pimblett is athletic. I do like his submission skills against Topuria. It's a fresh matchup. Pimblett isn't no, Ryan Hall, string bean Ryan Hall. Pimblett's a bit more durable, a lot bigger, more of an athlete. So I think it's an interesting fight. A good challenge for both. So I actually do want to see that fight. And definitely was in the UFC's plans to eventually make this happen. They had the two square off WWE style in the cage. So yeah, that's probably coming next for Topuria as he waits for Islam Makhachev to, I guess, fight JDM. But yeah, don't know where Oliveira can go from here. He was knocked out cold, and we knew Oliveira was probably going to get knocked out here, going to get dropped here at least. He is in almost every fight against strikers. Like his last 5, 6, 7 fights, his ass has hit the mat. But he's crafty. It was an interesting fight just because of his lengthy resume. But Ilia Topuria, prime athlete, multi-millionaire training, just incredible. A real star in the sport. Say what you want about his personality, his resume. He puts on incredible fights. Almost always a finish coming from Topuria. And yeah, it seems like Pimblett's next. Interesting fight. We have two phenomenal outcomes there. We have Ilia Topuria losing by the hands of Paddy Pimblett, which would be, cinema. Or we have Topuria finishing Pimblett, which would also just be a treat to watch. It would silence Pimblett. It would end his streak. So yeah, book it. Absolutely. It seemed like kind of a meme years ago, but I'm here for it. Pantoja beating Kara-France. I believe he was heavily favored to do so, and yeah, gets a simple rear naked choke. Not really entertaining for me, personally. If you definitely compare this to the Joshua Van Brandon Royval fight that happened just before this, Yeah, Pantoja doing what he does. Unbreakable. Just incredible durability for flyweight. And yeah, just punishing grappling game. BJJ black belt. Excellent cardio. Kai Kara France, not really hesitant, doing good work in the second round, but it just goes to the ground, and that is not his wheelhouse. Yeah, overpowered by Pantoja. Just out-finessed on the ground. Body triangle rear naked choke. Not just his fourth title defense, which is impressive. He's actually starting to become sort of a big pound-for-pound name. And he'll be fighting Joshua Van next, which is interesting because Van has shown himself to just be a demon on the feet when it comes to the volume, the durability, the willingness to just get down and scrap, not take a backward step. That's a big one against a grappler. Like if Van can stuff a few takedowns off of Pantoja and punish him for it with knees, all this kind of stuff, and just really, leverage his youth against Pantoja, that might be what it takes. It might take just the 200 significant strikes to break Pantoja down, because he hasn't had to really go through that. He's a very durable guy, and, Urseg was peppering him. Royval, Moreno, they were peppering him. I just like Van's power a little bit more. I know it's flyweight, and you can argue Van doesn't have power. But I fuck with that matchup because this was great. Joshua Van comes in, stepping in for Manel Kape, who fell out of this Royval fight. Royval, heart of gold, still accepts the fight, accepts Joshua Van on 2 weeks' notice. This is what an MMA fighter is meant to be. And Van gets it done. He's outstruck, but as for damage, it's Joshua Van all day. 130-27 scorecard. All the rounds were close. It was just a nonstop fist fight. 0 takedowns. Royval, very rangy, very hard to read with his hands down, great movement. But Joshua Van's pressure, just fucking unreal. Yeah, great accuracy. I feel like there's this narrative that if you're the shorter person, it's harder to land. It's absolutely not the case. If you know how to strike, you're presented a bigger, longer target. And as for center of gravity goes, Van's 5'4", 5'5". He makes it work. He rips these people apart, man. And he just did that to the number one contender. I know Royval. And I think Van can really make the push to become a flyweight superstar, because the whole world's watching him now put on these just tidal waves of punches. And he'll go to the ground if he needs to, but he just marches you down and just unloads. His cardio is insane. He's from Myanmar. I don't know if that's he's from these Burma mountains. He just has this Terminator cardio. Count me in. Joshua Van, if he can beat Pantoja whenever that fight goes down, he's a superstar. So tune in for that. Dariush Moicano, I had a feeling Dariush would win. Just super savvy, super crafty. He'll be boring to win. He'll do the right things to win. And Moicano's damaged goods. Moicano lost all of his durability in the RDA fight a while ago, if you remember that fight at all. Just concussed about a dozen times in this fight. And since then, his game has changed from composed striker with a sub game in the back pocket to just basically body lock wet blanket. And yeah, he's at the top of lightweight because he has been pulling off wins. But now it's kind of okay, you don't belong against these kind of Dariush has been here. Dariush is an ultimate veteran. He's old, yes. And you can call him unathletic, slow. But as for the skills, Dariush is world-class, top level. And Moicano just can't get out of first gear here. Dariush with great kicks. 16 of 19 kicks. I love that. Just keep Moicano at bay. Clean sweep on his takedowns. Took the takedowns to Moicano and just ran his game. This volume from Moicano is really sad. I don't know if this is just him realizing his whole game was shut down or if we have an injury, bad style matchup, but I'll call it a masterclass from Dariush. He was never really under any threat outside of the first round. We've seen Dariush put down bad before by like Saruki and stuff. This wasn't that. He popped right back up. MOICANO, not really that. Not really the finishing type to just starch Dariush out cold. The physicality's not really there. The threat level's not there. So Dariush, clean, educated win. Like it or hate it. MOICANO stock dropping massively from that. We'll see how he chooses to rebuild. And Dariush is, a really humble guy. I'm not really quite sure. See, this was a good bounce back he needed. Love to see that. Don't really know where he goes from here. I'm not really super invested in his career. He doesn't really call out people, talk trash, but he is incredibly skilled. So if you just like seeing elite level MMA, keep your eye on Beneil Dariush. My boy Peyton Talbott getting it done against Felipe Lima. I knew it was going to happen. Felipe Lima, I said it throughout the build-up, too small. Jungle Boy is fitting for, even for the 135 weight class, like 5'6", and not short and stocky either. A lean 5'6", which is kind of a red flag because Peyton Talbott is also lean and towers at 5'10", cuts a lot of weight probably, is what it is. But it's to get these physical gifts. He dwarfed Felipe Lima, excelled in the wrestling in this fight. Felipe Lima shooting 15 takedowns, just burning way too much energy and suffering in the striking realm because of it. Peyton Talbott, we can say what we want about his BJJ skills that kind of got picked apart in his last fight as for like scrambles and stuff like that, but the wrestling was on par here. And Felipe Lima is good, and that's why this win is so good, because the whole MMA fan base, trashing Talbot in the build-up, just completely, just all over Lima in this spot when they don't even know him. They don't even know his game. Whereas we do know what Peyton Talbot's about. KOs and stuff like that, but just an educated, unanimous decision here. He landed good damage, though. He landed great damage on the ground after getting reversals, stuff like that. Not a KO finish from Talbot, but I'm absolutely not going to make any complaints. I'm super, super proud of him for the performance because he has a fun style. He's dangerous. You need to tune in when Talbot's fighting. He just starches guys, and Lima was afraid of that, and the proof is right here. Going for 5 takedowns each round, just desperate to control Talbot, slow him down, avoid the exchanges, and lost the fight because of it. Talbot defends well, burns out Lima's cardio, and wins on volume every round. 30-27, in my opinion. They went with 2-1, but we can see here all the striking in favor of Talbot, and with decent accuracy too. Good stuff. Talbot is like a big boxer, big headhunter. I'd like to see more variance moving forward, but he had to fend off a grappler here, and he did it exceptionally well. Gregory Rodrigues, physical specimen, power merchant, just completely starches Jack Hermansson, who is technical, who is tactical. You hate to see it if you are a fan of Hermansson. Goes completely out cold from a left hook. Very, very brutal finish. Entertaining to most, yes. You're gutted for Jack Hermansson here. But Gregory Rodrigues is a sweetheart. I believe this was the bounce back after his first main event. So big, big bounce back. Putting the career back on track. Yeah, the power from Rodrigues is insane. He has like a heavyweight build at 185. No idea how he makes the weight class. And he takes damage every fight. Every Rodrigues fight is fun. He takes a ton of damage. Horrible accuracy. He's quite lumbering. The footwork needs work. He comes from BJJ, and his gym is kind of putting together his MMA game, but he's got like Ngannou power for middleweight. It's quite scary. He's got that death touch. He showed it here against Hermansson, who is elite in some aspects. Picked apart Pyfer. This is what Pyfer would have loved to do. This is what Pyfer was like dreaming about, thinking he could do to Hermansson, and then just kind of got shut down and embarrassed. Rodrigues comes in correct with the blueprint, sneaks in a hook through Hermansson's guard, just ends him. Hope this isn't the end of Hermansson. He's an older guy, and that was a bad, bad KO. but couldn't be happier for Rodrigues. He's a sweetheart. He's come at the hands of some nasty KO as well. So, yeah. Keep an eye on Rodrigues. He's fun. He just beat a really, really good veteran. And yeah, earned himself performance bonus. Happy for him. Jose Delgado and Hyder Emil. Hyder Emil is just kind of a volume freak, physicality freak, and great durability and cardio. Always pushes a good pace. Never a boring fight from Hyder Emil. But his style kind of caught up with him here and was just KO'd in 26 seconds by Jose Delgado, who I don't really know a whole lot. I had to go back and sort of do a bit of a tape study on him. Contender Series guy, kind of a fresh face, but very, very dangerous. And yeah, put a knee on the chin of Hyder Emil. Just put bone to his chin and put him out. And yeah, Hyder Emil's been putting on crazy scraps, some barn burners, and that chin finally gave. Somebody finally, put that perfect strike on him. Yeah, great stuff from Jose Delgado. I don't know who you give him next. Hyder Emil was on the way up, and Delgado just kind of got here. So maybe, he did effectively steal Emil's hype. So yeah, give Delgado a step up. Give him a dangerous test. I think he kind of needs a grappling test. Matthews is a schmuck, but Hyder Emil was a good step up, and he passed it with flying colors. He also should have gotten a performance bonus. I hope they hooked him up backstage. KO, flying knee KO, 26 seconds. You got to hook him up with something. Tracy Cortez, Vivian Araujo. Super disappointed and underwhelmed with Araujo. She's just kind of gotten to that age now. Super slow, super low volume. It's not looking good. Looks like she's on the decline. Whereas Tracy Cortez, I'd like a more complete striking game from her, but is what it is. Great cardio, good physicality. She can execute a good game plan. And yeah, not afraid of the scrap. She has a great win over Jasmine Jasudavicius, who is ranked far above her, but that's a great win. It shows Cortez, has her head on straight and puts the career back on track after getting out-volumed by Rose Namajunas. Yeah, interesting stuff. Good little fight. I would just wish, because Cortez can get dominant positions, I would just wish had a bit more power, was a bit more nasty, so she could, get some damage in. Getting damage in women's MMA is kind of rare. If she could, work on some good elbows or just a bit more punishing ground and pound, she'd be a real threat. So, great fight. Or not so great fight, but, Tracy Cortez on the come up. Great stuff. McKinney-BORSCHEV, this fight on paper was always going to be fun. It was going to be violent. Someone was probably getting starched in the first round. I thought BORSCHEV kind of had what it took to maybe just do what a lot of people have done to McKinney and just touch that chin and put him away. You can say what you want about Terrence McKinney, how he is just a kill or be killed fighter every time out. He doesn't do game plans. He only does finishes, as you can see. Pretty much every fight in his entire career is just an assault. There is not really much fight IQ going on. It's just how quickly and how efficiently can I render my opponent unconscious. McKinney, always fun. He will highlight you or he will be highlighted. And BORSCHEV, it sucks because BORSCHEV's fights are always fun, but expect him to be cut soon. Too many losses. 8-6 record is... it doesn't paint an accurate picture for his skills at all, but, he just doesn't have what it takes in MMA. Tough stuff. I hope they both stick around. McKinney, he should fight Trevor Peek or something. That'd be, diabolical. It'd just be like a slop fest, and someone would, get starched in round one. So, yeah, great win. No performance bonus, which sucks, but, it is what it is. A word of caution for Jacoby Smith, who was one of the biggest favorites in UFC history. We're starting to see that more and more often. Minus, 2,000 favorite. He did not look like it at all. Gassed out in round one. Like complete layup opponent against Nico Price, who's washed, who's unathletic, awkward, geriatric. And Jacoby Smith, primed and ready, athletic prime, coached by Saif Saud, so elite trained, elite physicality, and just went for a finish in round one and gassed out. Not what you want to see. I want to see you know, a bit higher fight IQ than that now that you're in the UFC. Interesting stuff. It's been domination so far. He's a very powerful guy. Kind of reminds me of Tyron Woodley a little bit. Yeah, something's not there. I was too over-aggressive in this fight, and it showed. He was super, super winded. And if this isn't Nico Price, they're gonna capitalize on that overexertion, and you're gonna get figured out real quick. Yeah, I just didn't like what I saw at such a high -2,000 favorite. It was very, very off-putting. I mean, he didn't put away Nico Price with strikes, which we've seen is super easy to do at this point. A word of caution. I think Jacoby Smith will take a loss or 2 or 3 in the UFC. But great physicality, great explosive wrestling. Coached by Saif Saud, that's a green flag for me. Putting a big focus on boxing, top position on the ground. It's just, yeah, would have liked a better performance. Would have liked a round 1 finish, but yeah, we kind of saw the opposite. He went for it, gassed out. And if he didn't find this sub in round 2, I mean, Nico wasn't really going anywhere. He was also tired. They kind of gassed each other out. Where Jacoby goes from here, I'm not quite sure, because he obviously passed this test. It was a layup, but I think you give him the slow build. You do not give him the Darren Till treatment. I think you slow build him even more so than Bo Nickel, because he's also a guy from the Contender Series. So we'll see. We'll see where he goes with his career. Just a word of caution. Didn't like what I saw. But yeah, he's part of a good gym. I'm sure he gets good training partners in. Nico Price, yes, he can be awkward. That's kind of always been the thing with Nico Price, is he's unorthodox, awkward, doesn't play by the rules of MMA, fights very much his way, and maybe the awkwardness just kind of was a shock to Smith, but he gassed himself out, which is a red flag for sure. And the opener was DINIZ versus this newcomer, Alvin Hines. Decent fight, much needed win for DINIZ, who just took unbelievable damage on the ground against Topuria last time out. We'll call it a fraud check. No, absolutely no get-up game. He's a kickboxer. I believe he comes from Glory. I believe he's a Glory kickboxer. Big, powerful dude. Great striking. I hope he goes far. And had a good performance. This volume is great for a heavyweight. This was a very good look and good takedown defense. So he's got his blueprint. But as we move up the division, it won't be this Hines guy. It'll be more elite level heavyweight grapplers that have more options to get you down. So I think DINIZ, I hope his future is bright. Heavyweight it needs a good next generation. Yeah, let's hope Janata, good activity, because this was a good volume performance from both. Real striking experience on the side of DINIZ with the kickboxing. He can leg kick. And yeah, good jab and stuff like that. Love it. I love when a heavyweight can have volume. Like, I love Cyril Gahn because he can just kind of style on you with volume and has the speed and the footwork to just put on masterclasses. DINIZ has potential. For sure, he has potential. The card got off to a great start. There is UFC 317. Like I said, International Fight Week, it is very top-heavy. But a lot got done here with this card. We know where Ilia Topuria is going now with some proper direction. It could be Pimblett or Makhachev now, which is great. And if for whatever reason those don't work, right underneath him is Arman Tsarukyan, which is a possibility. I think he starches Tsarukyan 100%. Kai France, don't know where he's headed, but Pantoja continuing his dominance. Love to see it. Would love to see Joshua Van dethrone him and become a superstar. Make flyweight one of the most exciting divisions in the UFC. Peyton Talbot, my boy, back on track. Keep an eye on him. Do not be swayed by casuals. He is the real deal. Felipe Lima was a prospect that people were glazing, and he outclassed him. Hermansson is in the dark place. Rodriguez on the come up. It's good stuff looking forward. Next week is fun. Check out yesterday's video about Calvin Kattar. I speak on tomorrow's card. Thank you guys very much. There's my recap. All right, see you later.